less money today. I bought a 20-cent piece pattern out of that auction for $19,000. That actually, and you know what? There was a coin in that sale, 10 now. 10 now. There was a coin in that sale that wasn't pedigree that was sold last night. It was a Judd 94, because I remembered it, because I paid $19,000 for it, and then ended up selling it to Tony for $6,000.
Last night.
Yeah. And it wasn't pedigree. There was a set of map-proof 20s, and I was going to have the great idea to buy the whole set. So I buy a really shitty 1908. That's like a 3 coin today for about $60,000. Thank God when the 1909 came up, I got outbid by Tony for 90 grand, and it stopped me from buying the whole set. I did sell the 08 for 20. Okay. I mean, 60 to 20, and that was quick. I mean, because I didn't hold on to anything. I sold that coin probably within 5-6 months. So it was a market that was free falling. The death of the 1980 coin boom was at the Central States Coin Show in Lincoln, Nebraska, where coins literally were going. April, we're little
Thursday at 2 o'clock.
Coins started going down 10 to 20% a day. Right
And
before everybody
at
died.
that show on Wednesday, you could get people to look at your coin. On that Friday, the Garrett bills, you know, you got your days, the Garrett bills were due that
You're making
Thursday.
me think about it now. It's freaking me out.
On Friday, you could not get a person to look at your coin.
Leon.
And I did a tremendous amount of, this is interesting that he brought it back. We had an in again through Dean Oaks. If you guys were into, no, those weren't those. No, those didn't. That came from Howard. But that's another story. But we had been buying Lynn 99 months and months, huge quantities of rolls of Walkers and early Washington quarters and selling. And it was really funny. We would buy 500,000 at a time. The first 500,000 took 4 briefcases. The next time we were in 2 briefcases. And then the last time we went there to buy BU rolls, we spent $1 million, and all the shit fit in less than 1 briefcase. And I said, "Holy shit, you're getting nothing!" Literally, you were getting nothing anymore because they've risen so much. We were just getting less and less coins. So I managed at that show. I traded all these rolls for some great type coins, and it was like, thank God we got out of that. And at that same show, I bought a set of $3 gold pieces from Jim. That was wonderful. It was like $700,000, and I flopped, and I managed to get Fred Sweeney to buy it. And Fred hated me for the next 3 years because he lost half of his money.
Pretty true.
Yeah, there's a proof 1855 in the set. There's an 1854 that would grade 7 or 8. And I don't remember the rest of the coins. Those are 2 coins that stand out the most.
58.
But anyway, what happened to me that was different from everybody else is I had the same kind of attitude was, you know, shuffle the cards, deal them out, and let's play. And that's the way I always ran my business to this day. Kind of, it's kind of like my same attitude, even though obviously now I'm a little more sophisticated in what I know to a degree. But back then, I would never be afraid to buy a coin at auction. I used to go through every damn stack sale, every damn superior sale, and put a bid down on every lot. Like, I guess Martin Paul still does that today. But he does it because of the sickness. But, no, I mean, it was, and then as the tide turned before 87. And also something got him
83, 84. I was
very
82.
No,
82
82 was the
A&A,
bottom.
it started to get.
Actually, what happened was in 1982, Boston A&A, Hugh Sconyers arrived to save the coin business. Okay? Hugh Sconyers, forget about whatever the story is, but the bottom line is Hugh got his, the guy, a very famous trader, Michael Marcus, who made millions and millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, and he gave Hugh basically, at the time, he was probably a $25 million fund to buy coins at the bottom, which was brilliant. And basically what happened, and then the Eliasburg sale, it started in Boston. You came to the coin show, and all of a sudden, someone was there to buy coins. At that 1982 A&A, I bought and sold 2 38 halves. Then I flopped to you. I bought and sold two. I sold Hugh probably $1 million or more at that show. My behavior at that show, by the way, reached its zenith which we don't need to talk about it, but I acted horrible at that point. And then one was 44,000 and the other one was like 47,000.
Boston Peace Party.
Yeah.
And Eliasburg sale, you bought over 20%.
That was later. I bought a lot of coins at Eliasburg as well, but if Hugh wasn't there, it would have been wonderful but Hugh came with all the money in the world and basically bought every great proof gold coin.
I missed one.
Well, not all of them, that's true. He missed plenty. But he, listen, Hugh had all the money, but Hugh never had the yacht. Never had. It wasn't part of his repertoire. He's a brilliant guy, and matter of fact, him and I ended up being partners in the Kidder Peabody Coin Fund in 1989. And when Hugh came in to save the market in 87, and if you had a relationship with Hugh, you were going to make money. And I had a relationship with Hugh. So he had what he was interested in was people who knew what they were doing and who wouldn't screw up, even though he wouldn't say that. But the bottom line is if you were a good coin dealer and you knew what you were doing, you could sell him a ton of coins, which I did. The same thing happened with me in that time period as well, with one Hugh David Bowers. I would go to coin shows in the 80s and sell Bowers hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of coins, and everyone else would be playing backgammon. It got to a point once where Kenny Goldman actually wrote him a letter, "Why do you buy your coins from Kevin and nobody else?" Typical of Goldman's bullshit. It's really hilarious. But I actually had a very interesting in with Hugh that set me apart from everybody else. I knew it was funny though. And it was a very funny one. So he loved buying coins from me. So I always managed to do business with people. And so I was always making money. And then things got hot again. There was a guy named Bill Ulrich who came along, and there was another company in Minnesota called IRI who started promoting gold coins retail. And they became great. They were really good at it. At the time, Ulrich was selling a tremendous amount of coins, but he was pushing the line by touting how great they were as investments. The guy was a brilliant marketer who didn't understand at the time by espousing too much, he was putting himself in peril. And he built up this great business that he ended up going to jail and having problems. But not a bad guy, but he ended up going to jail because his ego wouldn't let him sell with the government.
And this is the time that when the FTC was investigating coin investment.
They were and he was always espousing how the coins were developed fortune and and knew nothing about disclosure laws as we do now. Any of us. Now, but what's interesting about this guy Ulrich is after he was totally destroyed, he was in jail. He had this 25,000 square foot house he built on Lake Minnetonka that got taken away. And actually, that's really what led to him getting in trouble in the coin business, because he was dredging out Lake Minnetonka so he could have a better landing for his boat. And the next door neighbor was the governor's sister, who was pissed off about it, literally. And that's what started all of his bullshit, literally. And yeah, absolutely true story. So, but the interesting thing about this guy Ulrich, who is that after he went down, this guy has made an absolute fortune, because he was the first guy to ever do those hotel buys in a mass way, figuring out the exact right way to market it and advertise. And the guy has just made tens of millions of dollars on the region. So through the 80s, things are picking up. 89. I had a relationship in New York with a man named Charles Wormser in the mid-80s. Charles Wormser owned a company with John Ford and partners called New Netherlands Coin Company. Now, it was Ford's money, it was Wormser's money, and Ford being the hot shot, but it was Wormser's business originally. And when they broke up their business, Ford took half the inventory, Wormser kept the other half, and just put it in the
This was in the 50s.
60s. Anyway, so I would go to New York dutifully, 2-3 times a week when I'm in New York, go see Paul, do my business with Paul, go see Lester Merkin. Lester and I were always buddies. The problem about seeing Lester in the morning was we always had to do a shot of whiskey this big in the morning. And it fucked me up in the morning. That's all I had to do. Yeah, because if you didn't, it wasn't good. And Lester introduced me to Charles Williams, who was a lovely man, a very elegant looking man with a very close fit. He looked like a Commodore. He really looked like what you would see as a Commodore. And he was very elegant, and of course here, me, Kevin, with the elegant guy. We would go to the Harvard Club for lunch once a week. A lovely man. And he started selling me his coins, a little bit at a time. And actually, I remember I sold a lot of the nickels a day, so many pennies, so many inconsequential stuff. Charles got very ill, he had Alzheimer's, and passed away. And his wife came to me and said, Charles wanted to sell you the coins. And with the blessing of one, who's the guy that just passed away that Tony built the great colonial collection for in Williamsburg? Come on, guys.
Oh, Joe Lasser.
Joe Lasser, who was their financial guy, ended up buying all of their images. Now their collection I sold in Beverly Hills under the auspices of the Buddy Epson collection. Most people never knew that. But every coin up to $3 gold piece in the Buddy Epson collection was this incredible inventory.
So the Epson didn't flip point? Oh, yeah.
He did. He had some.
But he had
a Stella. He had like
50 coins.
he had maybe 50. And I'll never forget when the Goldbergs in the market had Buddy Epson there signing autographs. And I got to sign my catalog for it. It was very nice collection. He was fun. And these were the kind of things that happened to me. And then in '89, 89 actually was my most difficult time. I made the mistake after doing the Wormser deal, living in Beverly Hills and life being very good, of thinking I was wealthy. And it wasn't so much that I spent money like crazy, but I was a little complacent at a very inappropriate time in my life. I was 29, and Hugh talked me into doing the coin fund with me. And I thought it was a great idea at the time. And then a lot of things happened that were bad for me at that same time. I had my lawsuit with doing were coin galleries, which was a fabulous lesson for me. At the time, in the early 80s, New England was selling, after Jimmy had sold the company, they were selling coins retail at exorbitant markups, and I was providing them with their coins. And I, in my infinite wisdom as a young man, made a deal with their buyer who approached me to split the profits with him on the coins that I sold them. And that came back to haunt me in a terrible way. I ended up settling my lawsuit with bankruptcy of the company for about $1.3 million, plus it cost me about $500,000 in legal fees. So it was like $1.8 million in 1989. The market turned to crap, and I had all my capital working in a rope chain factory in the Dominican Republic, which was a brilliant idea. That we don't even need to go there with that shit. But it was just, I made my several big mistakes all at once. And that was the only time in my life that financially I was on a downslide. But it was a great time for it to happen to me. Because I was 29, I thought I knew everything, and I'd yet to been slapped across the face. I'm a real advocate of believing that people that are successful and do things, and until they're smacked once to learn a great lesson about the realities of business and life, I really truly believe they grow up to be bitches. That's my own freedom. There's very few of us that are capable of going through life without learning lessons. Not to stroke him, but the one, the man that I consider better than me, Mr. Alvin, is one of the few men that I know my entire life that has kept his credo intact forever. Not to stroke John, who's not here, but I truly feel that way. And I'm sure you see it the same way. He's a very special man. And I had a tough time. I had to sell myself into slavery. Because all my capital was tied up in 1990 after I deleted the coin fund with Scaniers. We weren't making any money. I went to work with the Goldbergs for a while, which was a very joyous occasion. 18 months. The worst part was, the really part, other than I didn't mind, because I made a lot of money and everything was building up quickly. There's a couple of things I minded about working with the Goldbergs. Every damn time I was out socially with Ira, we had mutual friends, the first words that would come out of the asshole's mouth were, "This is Kevin Lipton who works for me." Drove me crazy. So that was really hard for me, but it was like, this was all soul building stuff for me. My wife and I, that's the only time in my life that my wife and I had a really difficult time in our relationship. So everything was right at the time. I was 30 years old, my kids were little, my marriage was really rocky, my finances for the only time in my life seemed perilous. But I put my head down and I worked through it, and the rope chain business I ended up giving away for zero. That was the funniest thing. Let me tell you about the rope chain business. It's actually very funny. Unless we're running late on time.
No.
The rope chain business is very funny. What happened was, I went up one day to Minnesota because I'd been watching on TV, them hawking coins on TV for the first time in my life. And the company's name was CVN. So I called this guy up. I said, "Hey, I'm Kevin Lipton. If you're not buying coins for me, you're just stupid." So I go up there, and I go up there and I talk to this guy, John Zaragoza at CVN. And he goes, "You know what, Kevin?" He goes, "We're happy with our coin supplies." He goes, "What about coin jewelry? You do coin jewelry?" I said, "Of course." So he goes, "Go bring me a sample and we'll try and sell coin jewelry." So I said, "Fine." So I ran home. We went downtown. We found, the local Armenians downtown to make up every different kind of bezel for all the 1/10 coin. And I brought them up to them. They say, "Wow, these are great. I'll take 1,000 of those, 500 of those." And in about 6 months, I sold these guys $7 million worth of this shitty coin jewelry. So now I'm a coin jewelry dealer besides being a coin dealer. And these guys we're dealing with downtown were having trouble getting our delivery as needed. So we figured the only way to solve this problem is to buy a jewelry company. So we buy a jewelry company, and a week after I buy this jewelry manufacturing company, CVN gets bought out by QVC, and at the time, the guy that owned QVC was the ex-president of Franklin Mint and wanted nothing to do with coins. I'm there with Mr. Stephen Deeds at the time, who's working with me, and we were doing great. He'd been going to Europe twice a month. We were the second biggest importers of double eagles for about 3 years after Heritage. This was before Yaffe was doing it, before the Brads were doing it. We were just bringing tons and tons of coins and just doing great. And he said, "You know what? Now this, the market was getting a little slow." And he goes, "They have a rope chain business. Let's go into the rope chain business." I go, "Okay." So we ended up, I'll never forget it. We had a factory in the Dominican Republic with about 400 people. We would send them gold, and they'd sit there making their little handmade gold rope chain all day long. Here's the best part about it. You guys will love this business. Here's the rope chain business. Your gross margins over melt are about 12%. So what you would do is, everyone in the jewelry business got 30 to 60 days to pay. So for every $200,000 worth of stuff you're invoicing these guys all throughout this industry, they're getting $175,000 in cash. How many of them do you think screwed us? Huh? How do you think that went? Fabulous business. So, but the funniest part about it is right before when I became an indentured slave to the Goldbergs, Deeds wanted to keep the business. So he went into, he found some, why are you shaking your head? What is your problem? He went and became partners with a couple of Hasidim out of New York. I go to Stephen, these guys aren't going to be in business with you. I said, he says, no, that. So a month later, he was gone, thank God. They just bought the company and closed it up, which is what I told him. So that was my venture out of the coin business, was the rope. So the rope chain business cost me about $2.5 million. My lawsuit cost me about $2 million. So like in between that and the shitty market, so I lost about $5 million in like a nice little 18-month spread. So that was when my only decline that I've had in my life. But without that decline and without that hardship, I don't think I'd be half the person that I feel like I am today. And since then, it's just been a very steady, wonderful ride. My business has changed dramatically in the last year and a half. I mean, prior to that, when the market was different, I was handling every great rarity I can get my hands on and doing a lot of. We probably sell now 10 bags of silver dollars a week. I sell thousands and thousands of proof silver eagles, proof gold eagles, because the people that we supply, this is what they want to do. And the volume of our business has never been anything like this. I mean, we'll do 12 million, 15 million in business this month. But it's a whole completely different business. But we have the ability to change with the times and do whatever it is that's going on. I'm sure I left out a lot of good stuff. Any other questions? Thanks for asking that question.
Kevin?
Yes, Paul, would you like to ask about
Is John Albanese really gay?
John Albanese
I
is...
gotta, just hold up, I gotta go.
You
You
go
mind
pee,
waiting
please.
for me? I gotta go to the bathroom.
Go, we won't talk to you
I'm going
back.
to die. I'm going to
He
die.
wants to be gay. John is not gay, but more gay.
Kevin,
Yes, sir.
I know it'd be a hard question probably to think or answer, but over the 30 to 40 years that you've been in the business, are there, let's say, 5 to 10 coins in your mind that really stand out as far as being...
Ones I've owned or seen or what?
Well, yeah, one that you personally handled.
Wow, there's a lot of them. The 96 No Stars Quarter Eagle in 65. That's over there. Personal favorites. I really like my Gemok 1795-10 that I've had. It's so many of the coins, like for a while, I think I've handled virtually every coil here Stella like multiple times it seems. Like there was like a year period where I think I handled like 7 coil here Stellas. Doug, help me with the coins that I like. You know them better than me.
Sailor Hill.
Oh yeah, I've had all of those. Yeah, the great. Actually, that's another. Thank you for helping me again. I got Charles Anderson started on his pattern collection for the most part. I had put together a fabulous group of patterns for a dear friend of mine, and I actually sold him his first big lump. I sold him about $3 million worth of patterns. Actually, we met at my friend Mike Follett's office in Dallas, and that was a fabulous, fabulous group of coins. There were.
Did you indirectly handle any like the Richardson gold patterns?
Oh,
after?
sure, many of them, sure. I had the Sailor 5 and 10. I've had the. Give me a book I can remember better by the way. I had the 1860 5 in gold. I've had the little fella, the 2.5, one of the 2.5s. I had a 1865 20D20 in proof. I probably had about a dozen, not counting the shitty little coins, the ones and stuff. I probably had a dozen of the Wilkins patterns over the years, sure. Also I had virtually every 1877 half, which I loved as well in that deal. The 2120, Steve's is one of the great coins I've ever had.
Kevin, who, in your opinion, are the smartest collectors, not dealers, but collectors that you ran into? Who did it right as a collector?
I have a tough criteria on judging collectors because I don't call John Ford a collector. I don't call John Pitt a collector. John Ford got virtually everything he got out of one deal, and then just piecemealed in a little bit, and he got a lot of the Grand estate, and then when was it Garrett came up that he wanted money for, he sold some proof gold to do it. Pittman basically hocked his life to go buy everything in Palisade and Peru. I like the collectors that really put it in, because I know what it's like for me to collect what I like. It's like they take forever, and they find that you gotta have a tremendous amount of respect for the folks for what they've done. Harry Bass, of course, but I like a lot what the Pogues did, because their taste was so immaculate in what they picked. I mean, their coins are absolutely fantastic, and if you've ever had a chance or get a chance to see what they've done, it's really amazing. I mean, Stevens built incredible collections over the years, and I think again, so much of it matters is the people that put the time into doing it and the patience to do it. The kind of coins Bill Motto wants to collect, we laugh about. They come up now once every 5 years. It's not even a matter of money. Your guys that you have, those are the kind of collectors that I have tremendous respect for. You have to also remember too, is I've never been in the forefront with collectors for the most part. A lot of the great deals I did were like in private funds and private placements where I was the collector, and the people that pretended or acted, they weren't really collectors. They just listened to me and bought whatever I told them to. So I love the guys really like the people in this room that take the time to study and learn about it, because again, you're looking at collectors here. David and I are collectors. And the stuff that we like aren't so much rare coins because we do them all the time, but the time it takes to build a world-class collection of anything. The reason it's a great question is I've seen people with money that missed it. A perfect example of an incredible collector is Eric Striner. Do you guys know Eric Striner? Eric is a guy that was in the coin business for years. Besides going, he's a little guy. He's quite strange, but a very dear friend of mine. But what he's done is amazing. He has built the best collection of Tiffany glass in the country, as well as, I'm not sure, but close to the best collection of Tiffany jewelry. This is a guy that's not rich. And he has been vying to build this collection against people that have unlimited assets. How the hell could he have done that? Why? Because he's put more effort and more cunning into what he's done. It's just absolutely amazing that Eric's collection of Tiffany glass is the best in the country when you're talking about he built it over a time period where people with millions and millions of more money at their disposal were competing against him. I mean, that to me is an incredible collector.
Sotheby's auction.
Sure.
Nothing's cheap.
Just amazing. Literally. And if you ever get a chance and you're in New York and you know him, or you have